Well, welcome to third grade lunchtime reading as we continue on with Door in the Wall. We left off with Brother Luke, John go in the wind, and Robin going on a journey together. They are actually going to Sir Peter, the knight, where Robin was originally supposed to go before he got sick to learn how to become a knight. They're going to his castle because Robin sent a letter to his father telling him of what had happened to him. And his father, who was so concerned, said, I have asked Brother Luke and John go in the wind to take you to Sir Peter's place. So that's where they're heading. And I think it was over 100 miles that they were going to have to walk. And they have two ponies, two small horses that they're taking turns riding and walking. And so that's where we left off. The very last paragraph that we read was this. I'm going to read it. Now that noon was past, there were few people on the road, but soon they fell in with a peasant with a shepherd's crook over his shoulder. They asked the way to the next village. The village lies just yonder, about an hour's journey, he said. The road goes through the wood, over the downs, crosses a bridge, then winds up the hill where you will find a buttercross, where the market is held. Now, a buttercross was something that it was in many small villages, or maybe even large villages, back in the medieval times, and certain places that you would visit, historical places that you would visit now, might still have some buttercrosses set up in their towns and villages. It could be like a small little monument of some sort, or it actually could be something that had a cross, but it was usually in the middle of the square or in the middle of the village, and it was the place where markets were set up and people would come and trade food, and so they called them a buttercross. Likely there will be nothing to buy there because it's past noon. Beyond the cross, the road turns more northerly, and there is a fork. That means two roads where it divides. Beyond that, I know not how it goes. Are you going to the village? Asked Robin. No, I go to the forest of my lord's manor, where wood for house fires may be gathered. We country folk may have such branches as can be gathered by hook or by crook from the standing trees of the Lord's forest. He left them with a good day and crossed the field. So the peasant went on his way. Robin grew tired, for he had walked more than a mile, which is a lot for someone who can't walk, right? And he's walking with his crutches. So he was very tired. John Go in the Wind helped him into the saddle again and fastened the crutches on behind. They entered the village where the stone bridge crossed a stream. The buttercross in the center square stood open to the four winds. The stone paving was still wet from the washing down after market. So the market had been up, and now the market was gone. Everybody packed everything up, and it's been washed off, all of the cobblestone. And the last of the farmers gathered baskets and gear before going home. Brother Luke was ahead, still riding Bayard the horse, but here he stopped and changed places with John Go in the Wind. The road continued to rise beyond the village, winding between hedgerows of hawthorn, now starred with rosy fruit. Robin drew his cloak around him, for the air was damp and chilly. About a mile beyond the village, at the top of the hill, they came to the fork in the road. Another cross to the memory of Queen Eleanor stood at the dividing point, but there was no signpost. Now, by my faith, declared John Go in the Wind, I know not which road to take. He drew rein and waited for Brother Luke to come abreast of him. Nor do I, said the friar, never having traveled this way. Did he not say the right fork? Asked Robin. We shall go to the right, said the friar, but it may be that we shall not find the white swan and shall have to sleep in a hedgerow. So remember, they are on their way and they're looking for a place called the White Swan, which is a place of lodging. And it's a place that John Go in the Wind had been to, and he's trying to remember how to get there. By the time they started on their way again, the wind blew hard, and spits of rain warned them of more to follow. Brother Luke drew his cowl over his head and unfolded a furred robe from the pack to put around Robin. For several miles they plodded on without speaking. The rain held off, but dark clouds scudded low, and the wind was searching. A lonely peasant cottage stood back from the road, but as yet there was no sign of the White Swan. Robin grew very tired and wished the day's journey had come to an end. "Will it be soon, do you think?" he asked, not wishing to say how his back ached. "Whether it be soon or late, I know not," answered the friar, "but these old legs need rest." Then he shouted to John Go in the Wind, who was some distance ahead. "What sayest thou, John? How goeth it? Are we near to the inn?" John shook his head and shouted back, turning Bayard and waiting for the others to come up. "We must have taken the wrong fork," he said. "I see no inn, and night is soon. Ahead lies a dark forest, and it's raining now. Shall we shelter here by the road?" It is an ill thing for young Robin to sleep out in the damp, but if such be our fortune, then we must make the best of it. "Shall we sleep on the ground?" asked Robin. "What a lark! I have never yet in my life slept out of doors, though it may as well have been out of doors when the east wind blew through the window." "We might go on to the forest and be more sheltered from wind and rain," offered John Go in the Wind. "But that wild beasts do roam about, and highwaymen lurk in the edge of it to leap out at passerbys. I'm for staying here. I have flint and steel to make a fire." He dismounted and led Bayard to the edge of the road where he could examine the lay of the land. Brother Luke said, "'Tis not for me to sleep in Mother Nature's arms. Many a night have I been grateful for the comfort of solid ground. And maybe we can cover young Robin to keep him dry." He followed John to the field's edge. "Why, here it is, the very thing," he cried, "an ancient tree trunk fallen from age and hollowed with dry rot. It hath stood enough years to make it both wide and deep. We shall not be ill found after all. Come, young master, let me help you, for I know you are sore by the saddle, be it ever so soft." He helped Robin to get down from Jenny's back and adjusted the crutches under his arms. So they found this old, huge tree that had been dried out, and rot had slowly just disintegrated the inside. So there was like this big hollow hole for them to sleep in. The friar went on as he bustled about, getting the saddlebags down, putting the rug inside the great log, and leading Jenny to be tethered to the thicket. Robin stood with his back to the wind, holding his cloak about him. This was a real adventure. Even though he might never be a knight in armor and go to battle to defend England, he would know what it was like to make his bed on God's earth, feel the prick of rain in his face, and instead of brocaded bed curtains, see dark clouds making a canopy over him. John cleared a space, shielded from the rain on the far side of the log where the ground was still dry, then set it about with stones and searched for dry twigs to make his fire. Farther down the sloping meadow, he found a ruined ox yoke left by a careless peasant, which would burn long and well. A few dry leaves and some of the punky, rotted wood served as tinder when steel and flint struck a spark in the shelter of the hollow log, and soon there was a cheerful fire which drove back the night and storm. They roasted apples in the fire, but ate the pastry cold, and hunger made it taste better than the finest cook could have done. So that's the end of that chapter, and we will read another one tomorrow. All right, have a great afternoon.